Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to be talking about the picks and predictions for Vettori versus Dolidze. That's this week's UFC Apex card. It's really not the best card, but we're just going to kind of go through these picks. I'm going to give you all of my picks, all of my predictions. I'll just read through the notes I took, and then, yeah, that'll be the video. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into the first fight of the night. All right, so fight number one is Eunice Dubin versus Carly Judice. So we're going to start breaking down Eunice Dubin. She's 6-0, all finishes. Pretty exciting striker. However, outside of her last win, her resume is super, super shallow. We don't know how she'll do against a technical striker in the later rounds because literally everyone who she fought other than in her last fight has been 0-0 when she fought them. So yeah, super unknown, super big question mark. And her fighting style, she just kind of spams overhands and hopes they land flush. So yeah, she's kind of like a pretty big question mark in this one. And then on the other side, we got Carly Judice, who's a pretty flashy striker, and she's far better than her record suggests. Her record is 3-2. However, both of those two losses were by split decision. So if two judges saw two rounds differently, this lady could be 5-0. And she's been in a ton of wars before, a ton of like pretty close fights, obviously, because of the two split decisions. But like, she has been hit hard and fought through it. Um, and for that reason, I'm going with Carly Judice here. Her striking is more technical, and just outside of sheer power and finishing ability, she's just better everywhere. So yeah, we're going with Carly Judice. However, 3-2 versus 6-0. It's a pretty close fight. So yeah, don't bet on this one. All right, fight number two: Josiane Nunes versus Priscilla Cachoeira. So Josiane Nunes is a tiny, tiny lady. She's like 5'2" at 135, so she's quite short. And she's got a really weird build. Like if you look at her, she's got a tiny torso and just super long arms. Um, but she's got a pretty decent striking, and however, her output is a little bit low. You know, she doesn't throw a ton of strikes sometimes. And then additionally, she's got good power. However, she hasn't gotten a knockout in years. So yeah, that's Josiane Nunes. And then on the other side, we got Priscilla Cachoeira. She's just kind of a zombie, you know what I mean? Like, she just takes a shit ton of damage in each fight. However, um, she does have pretty decent striking. She's won a couple of fights on the feet. Um, Terrible striking defense, terrible takedown defense. However, that's not too much of a threat. Wherever this fight goes, I do think that Josiane Nunes is better, and I do think she's going to find Cachoeira's chin at some point in this fight, just because Cachoeira does kind of just leave her chin open and fight with her hands down a bit. And she gets hit a shit ton, and I think that's going to happen here, and I think that Josiane Nunes is going to be powerful enough to knock her out. All right, fight number three. This is the first good fight of the night. This is a pretty exciting one. We got Andre Lima versus Daniel Perez. Andre Lima is 10-0. However, I do think he's super, super overrated. He's gone to a bunch of split decisions, including against a guy called Mitch Raposo, who fought him on a week's notice. So that's a pretty bad look in my opinion. He was getting beaten by Igor Severino before he got bit. Another bad look in my opinion. And I think this guy's just one of those people who you should probably just fade. Especially because you're getting him at such big odds here. And then especially because Daniel Perez is really, really good, I think at least. He's got good jiu-jitsu, he's got nasty boxing, and he's got pretty good power as well. When he lost in the UFC against Jafel Filio, he did drop him and almost had him out of there beforehand. And he looked solid in his win against Victor Altamirano. However, he did gas a little bit. So that is something to note. I do like Perez to win here as an underdog. I think that he's just better on the feet, and I think that he's live on the ground as well. So, yeah, I think we're going to go with Daniel Perez here. I'm not super confident on it, but, yeah, we're going with Daniel Perez. All right, fight number four. We got Sam Hughes versus Stephanie Luciano. Sam Hughes is a pretty boring fighter. She's kind of like a shitty female Marab, if you will. She'll kind of just like outgrind you. Maybe not like maybe not Marab isn't the best comparison because she's not like a super big wrestler, but she'll kind of outstrike you and outdog you if you're not that great. However, I do think Stephanie Luciano is pretty good. She's 6-1-1 in her career, and she shows pretty good striking on the feet, decent takedown defense, and she's got a lot of grit. Like um she's got that dog in her. I don't really know what else to say. She got a 10-8 in a fight she was losing and fought it up to a draw, and then just went and beat the woman again to kind of finish up the rivalry. And yeah, she's pretty good. I don't know. I think Luciano's gonna pass this gatekeeper test. I don't really think there's a whole lot to say about this fight, but that's what I'm gonna say. All right, fight number 5. I'm pretty excited for this one. We got Josias Musasa versus Carlos Vera. Josias Musasa is a very fun name to say, but he's also a pretty good fighter. He's a little bit unknown. He hasn't fought the best people up until his most recent fight, but he's got insane power. And in his most recent fight, which was against Otari Tanzilovi, who was 9-0 at the time, now 10-1, and also trains with Marab, he showed really impressive takedown defense, stuffing 12 out of 16 takedowns. And he's got super good athleticism. As I said earlier, amazing power. This guy's just like a really good athlete. And on the other side, we got Carlos Vera, who is absolutely not a good athlete. This guy's kind of flabby, and additionally, all he's got is jiu-jitsu. Yes, he's pretty tough, but he doesn't really have any like upside other than his ground game. So I think this fight's pretty much Musasa's to lose, unless he gets caught by a stupid submission or he gasses out, or yeah, those are pretty much the only two avenues where he can lose. And outside of those, he's gonna win. I think he's gonna find Vera's chin pretty early on in the fight and just knock him cold. So yeah, that's fight number 5 for the night. All right, for fight number 6, we got Su Young Yu versus AJ Cunningham. Don't know a whole lot about Su Young Yu. I did see his fight with Bayer Gang Gialisi, but it was at like 3 in the morning because it was in Macau and I was half asleep, so I don't really remember it a whole lot. What I do know is this guy's a pretty boring wrestler. He's got pretty good takedowns, but he is not a finisher. So yeah, his way of winning is mostly by decision. And then on the other side, we got AJ Cunningham, who is massive for bantamweight. He fought his last fight at 155 against Ludwig Klein. And pretty much this guy loses to high-level regional competition and above. He is pretty tough, and he does have more finishing upside in this fight, but I think this is pretty much Su Young Yu's to lose. If he's any good, he's going to win here. But there's a chance this guy's shit because he's only really fought regional level people as well. So there's a very big chance here that AJ Cunningham could just get the upset and just kind of out experience him because this guy has fought in the UFC before. He's fought in the Contender Series before. He's fought decent regional people in his career before. So he is a little bit more of a veteran in a better competition type of sense. But I just think Su Young Yu does have the upside here. Again, stay away from this fight. But yeah, Su Young Yu is the pick. All right. Fight number 7, Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ryan Spann. So just before the breakdowns here, I went into this week pretty much thinking, oh yeah, Spann is a lock. And then I saw this guy's photos at the weigh-ins, at the media day, whatnot. And this guy did not take his jump to heavyweight seriously. He just ate a bunch of fucking cheeseburgers and shit, and now he just looks like a fat light heavyweight. So yeah, there's a reason why I'm going Waldo Cortez Acosta, and it's not just because of his skill. I just don't think Ryan Spann's taking his career super seriously, so I do want to go ahead and say that. Anyways, Waldo Cortez Acosta, he's a big heavyweight, crisp boxing, decent wrestling against fucking Robelis de Spain. That was terrible to watch, but yeah. However, this guy does not have the best fight IQ. He got leg kicked to oblivion by Jared Vandera, who's a bum. And he was kind of showboating on Andrei Arlovsky while taking him to a super close decision. So yeah, then we got Ryan Spann, who is a pretty good light heavyweight, or was a pretty good light heavyweight, I guess. He was in the top 10 to top 20 for most of his career. He lost a bunch, won a bunch, and he's been pretty inconsistent. He does have good striking, and he does have a nasty, nasty guillotine choke. But just like a Cortez Acosta, he does not have the best fight IQ. And he has admitted in the past to being lazy with his training. And I kind of feel like that's what's going on here. And for that reason, I'm going to be going with Waldo Cortez Acosta. I just think he's going to be too big for Ryan Spann, too strong for Ryan Spann, and he's going to be able to just keep the fight on the feet and outbox him. So, yeah, that's what we're going with here. All right, fight number 8. I'm super, super, super excited for this one. This is a sick, sick fight. We got Kevin Vallejos versus Sung Woo Choi. And, yeah, I mean, we'll start with Kevin Vallejos. This guy is an insane prospect. His only career loss is to John Silva. If you guys are watching this video, you probably know who that is. Fighting nerd, super good prospect. He's going to beat Bryce Mitchell's ass next month. He's mainly a boxer. He's got super crisp striking, especially in the pocket, and legit power. This guy took the first round off of John Silva before kind of gassing out a bit. But he's an insane prospect, and he's only gotten better since then. And he's only 23 years old, too. This guy's going far in the featherweight division. And I do think he's going to start his UFC career with a win tonight. But before we get into that, we'll get into Sung Woo Choi. Sung Woo Choi is a decent striker himself. He is better than his record suggests. I would say his record is 11-7, and I don't think he's that bad of a fighter. However, he has lost 4 out of his most recent 5 fights. So yeah, that's Sung Woo Choi. He's kind of on the older side at the tail end of his UFC career. And I think this fight was pretty much set up for Vallejos to get an impressive TKO win, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think he's going to pressure Sung Woo Choi into the fence and then just kind of unload a nasty combination and get the knockout. So yeah, that's what we got here. All right, this next fight, we got Dr. Nurgajai versus Brenson Ribeiro. So, Dr. Nurgajai, this bum missed weight by 4.5 pounds this morning. So, that's an atrocious look. I don't know a whole lot about him, to be honest. I did see his Contender Series fight, and I was not super impressed up until the finish. He kind of was just kind of plodding, boring, looked a little slow. And then just out of nowhere, he got this crazy high kick finish. However, the guy he beat was a bit of a bum, so I will say that. And additionally, he's kind of fat and kind of small for the division, which makes missing weight even more ridiculous. But I digress. We got Brenson Ribeiro on the other side. This guy is a super, super exciting fighter. I don't think he's going to go super far in the UFC, to be honest. He's 1-2 overall. And I don't think that he's going to win here. But I do think he does have some finishing upside. Especially because Nurgajai, there must be something wrong with his health or weight cut or some shit, because he has no excuse to be missing weight. Overall, I do think DR is the better fighter, though, and I think he's going to win by a pretty boring decision. I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Brenson Ribeiro, but yeah, I do think he's going to win. So, for fight number 10, we got Damon Blackshear versus Cody Gibson. This is another pretty fun, pretty under-the-radar, exciting fight. Damon Blackshear is far better than his record at 15-7 suggests. This guy's pretty legit. You know, he almost beat Mario Batista on a week's notice, which is really impressive. And he's got slick jiu-jitsu, nasty striking. His only real weakness is his chin, but I don't really think that's too much of a threat here, especially because Cody Gibson is kind of just a pressure striker, not a power striker. He does have solid wrestling, Cody Gibson that is, but I just don't think it's good enough to cause Damon Blackshear problems. I think Damon Blackshear is pretty much better everywhere this fight will go. And even though Gibson is pretty skilled, I think he is pretty underrated. I just think Damon's just going to be able to outskill him and outstrength him. And I think eventually this fight's going to find its way to the ground, and Damon is going to find a submission. I do think a ground and pound TKO is possible here, but I do think submission is more likely. So we're going to go with Damon Blackshear by round 2 rear naked choke for our official pick. All right, fight number 11, Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holloway. So Alexander Hernandez, this guy's career is super, super weird. He came into the UFC and knocked out Beneil Dariush. Everyone knows Beneil Dariush, staple in the rankings. And this guy just knocked him out in his debut fight. And then kind of since then, he's kind of underwhelmed in his UFC career. He got knocked out by Cowboy Cerrone, and has kind of just lost more than he's won since then. Um, he's pretty inconsistent between featherweight and lightweight, and doesn't have a whole lot of a future in either weight class, in my opinion. He's pretty solid all around, but he's not like super amazing at any particular skill set. And then on the other side, we got Kurt Holloway, who this is his second run in the UFC after winning the Ultimate Fighter. He's got pretty decent striking and nasty jiu-jitsu. He's 2-1 in this current UFC run, his only loss being against Trey Ogden, who is a pretty solid fighter, like kind of a top 25, top 30 guy himself. And although he's on the older side, I just think he's kind of surging in his career more than Hernandez is. And for that reason, we will be going with Kurt Holloway. I think he's better on the ground, and I think it's pretty even on the feet. So yeah, we're just going to go with Kurt Holloway by a close 29-28 unanimous decision here. All right, fight number 12. Alessio Zaleski dos Santos versus Chidi Njokuani. So, Alessio Zaleski dos Santos is a very solid striker, even at his older age. He's got pretty good power, and he's super, super tough. We saw that against Renat Fakhretdinov, where he lost the first 2 rounds, and then almost finished him in the third round, fought back to a draw. He's really impressive. Renat is a legit guy, and he had a draw with him. And then on the other side, we got Chidi Njokuani, who has not looked the best since he dropped down to welterweight. He's got 2 wins in the division. He is 2-0, but they're against Reese McKee and Jared Gooden, who are like the 2 worst welterweights that there are. I don't even think Jared Gooden's in the UFC anymore, and Reese McKee is shit. He's like 0-5 over 2 UFC runs. Super bum, and he took him to a split decision. So on that note, I think Dos Santos is the easy pick here. I think he's going to get a knockout, and I think that, I think he's bettable here at minus 210 for sure. And I think that because this is a mainly striking battle, I think he's going to be able to find Njokuani's chin. He does kind of quit a little bit. Who did he quit? He quit against that Polish guy. I don't really remember his name. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Quit against that dude. Kind of quit against Rodriguez. And yeah, I just think Zaleski dos Santos, better striker, got more of that dog in him. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of yapping here. But yeah, Zaleski's the pick for sure. All right, and our final fight of the night, the main event of the evening, is Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. So we'll start with Marvin Vettori. He's got a ridiculous chin. That's kind of the most notable thing about him as a fighter. This guy can just take a beating and not get dropped, not get knocked out. He's got pretty solid striking, pretty solid wrestling, but he is not a finisher. He's got 1 finish in the UFC. And he's been super inactive. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years since he took a beating by Jared Cannonier. And yeah, I just don't think that's the best look, especially coming back against a pretty dangerous guy in Roman Dolidze. So, Roman Dolidze is a grappler by trade. However, he does have pretty solid striking and pretty decent power. And then surprisingly, he has pretty shit wrestling. He's not like kind of super successful at taking people to the ground. When he's on the ground, it's wraps. His opponent's fucked most likely, but it's hard for him to get them there. So most of the time he needs to kind of get lucky, or they need to shoot a takedown. Either way, this is a pretty close fight, just like the last one. The last one was an insanely close fight. A lot of people scored it for Dolidze, even though Vettori did get the win. And I think there are more ways here for Dolidze to win. I think he can win on the ground. I think it's possible that he does win on the feet. That being said, I do think Vettori's one path of victory, outstriking Dolidze, is more likely than any of Dolidze's paths, if that makes any sense. However, I am going with Dolidze just because of momentum. Momentum is a really big thing in fighting, and this guy's just been more active. He's fought 3 times since they last fought, and he's won 2 out of those 3, and the one he lost was against Nasruddin Imavov, who is the number 1 contender, or number 2 contender, I guess, because Khamzat. Either way, not a bad person to lose to, and I just think he's got more momentum here, more avenues where he can win, and allegedly Vettori's still injured, so I don't know. We're going with Dolidze here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.